All right, hello and welcome. My name is Andrew Sheets. I'm the Communications Manager here at Frameline, and I'm so excited to be moderating this discussion with the team behind Shit and Champagne, which is having its world premiere at Frameline44, September 17th at the West Wind Solano Drive-In. We've got a real cast of characters here, and I'm very excited to introduce them, so if we can get them up on screen. Very cool.
Hello.
I love you all so much and think so highly of you. And I really want to go around, have you introduce yourselves. Don't be modest. You're all amazing. If we can start with Darcy, who's the writer, creator, producer, director, star of the film, and then make our rounds, that would be awesome.
It's not a vanity piece, I swear. Yes, my name is Darcy Drollinger. I wrote, directed, produced, and starred in both the stage production and the film of Shit and Champagne.
I'm Nancy. I played Debbie, the deadbeat stripper, and I was also in the stage productions, both at Rebel and Oasis, and yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Andrew.
How about
Matthew?
Matthew?
Hi, Matthew.
Hi, everybody. Hi out there.
She's so shy today.
Well, I know I have my moments. I'm Matthew Martin, and I play Dixie Stampede, and so delighted to be here. And having done it on stage and bringing it to the screen is a dream come true. So proud of and happy for Darcy, especially. All of us.
I'm Stephen LeMay. I play Brandy, the adopted half stepsister and world famous calf model. So, yeah, and I was also in the Rebel production and the Oasis production as well. And it's great to finally be able to see this. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Hey everybody, I am James Arthur M. I play Champagne's gay BFF Sergio. I joined the cast when we started doing it at Oasis, and then it just took off. So here we are. Now we're making movies.
Yeah.
Cool. And that kind of sets us up to where I want to start. I would love to start kind of at the beginning of this project. We're saying that it's, started stage and now it's making its screen premiere. So Darcy, do you want to start at the very beginning for us and talk about how the story of Champagne White first kind of came into fruition for you?
Well, it started kind of as a response to working on this show where I had to do so much compromising and it was so intense with so many cooks in the kitchen. I thought I want to write something that I think is funny, and also it was the first time that I wrote something for myself. So I think it was, for me as a writer, it was a first time. We originally did it in New York at a little strip club called the Slipper Room in the Lower East Side. We'd open the show at 8, we'd be done by 9:30, and the strippers would start at 10. And that ran for about 9 months. And so at that point, it was sort of one of my bigger hits of all the shows that I had done. And then when I moved back to San Francisco, we'd been doing other shows at Rebel, and we decided to bring Shit and Champagne to the stage, and I pulled together a cast, and we did it at Rebel and got extended twice. And really, this cast just clicked. There was some amazing energy in that room during those performances that there grew this kind of crazy cultish audience. They called themselves the shitheads. It would come over and the lines with us, and it became very much like a Rocky Horror situation. And then when Heckling and I opened the Oasis, we decided to make this the inaugural show there. James joined the cast, and we were rehearsing this show in the middle of a construction zone, right? Like stepping over boards and dirt and puddles of water, and I think that really bonded this group of people in this a deeper way. It was like we were on an episode of Naked in the Woods or whatever that show is. naked and afraid. Oh no. Anyway, in those days, in the original show, we only had 6 actors, so everyone doubled and tripled characters except for me and Matthew. Though in the sequel, Matthew did do some other characters as well. Yeah, there are actually 2 sequels to this, so get ready for those. And then when, you know, it was almost written as if it was a film that was being adapted for stage with all the Foley sound effects and the low budget effects of trying to make like a movie. So it really it made sense to make this the first time film, you know, the first film that I was going to do. And I do want to say real quick that when I originally wrote it, you know, I was basing this sort of on the formula of a lot of those exploitation films, Coffee, Foxy Brown with Pam Grier, Savage Streets with Linda Blair, those kinds of things. And looking at those, a lot of times they would get these women addicted to heroin and then enlist them into a prostitution ring, which sort of is the plot. But heroin didn't seem very funny. And I was reading in the Village Voice, and Michael Musto had a column about how the nightclubs were having sewage problems because people were doing booty bumps and shooting crystal meth up about shitting their pants and flushing their underwear down the toilet. And so I thought, well, booty pump sounds a little more funny than heroin. And so I blame Michael for that aspect of, well, and all the club goers. So there's my,
then the star was born.
That's how it got to film. And it's interesting, you know, we spent so much time filming it, but about, I'd say 45 minutes to an hour got on the cutting room floor. But what really made it, 90% of that was what was the stage show. So I feel like by us doing it over and over, over 100 times we did this show, we really got it succinct, you know. So
absolutely.
And I'm so
yeah, I mean,
people brought these characters to life. I can't imagine them as any other people at this point.
Yeah, as an audience member and big fan of there were 3 stage iterations before the film, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, as an audience member, I always was like, the kind of bringing the film to stage was very obvious, and now it's kind of like making that full circle. And I definitely want to talk about how the experience was different for all of you. When you have all of this, because on stage, right, you kind of are having the thrill of like, this is my moment, I need to nail it now. And if not, it's still hilarious. The audience loves that. But like having this kind of setup where you can cut, you can do all this stuff, you can add, you know, special effects that you're not able to on stage. So I'm curious, like, what about moving this to filming, what doors did that really open up to you that you felt like the stage show might have been limiting you to?
I think it was a definite pivot, as Darcy has coined the phrase of "that's what we do here, we pivot." It was such a different because the audience is really the 7th cast member, and so so much of what we do feeds off of the audience energy, and so I think we were really learning as we were going. At least I know for myself, I was, which is I'm really excited for the sequel. But you know, the way things work on film, it's sort of different the way that comedy sort of works. So you can sometimes be a little bit more subtler, or you don't have to be as big, but at the same time, the show is really big. So it's such a sort of like formula to sort of figure out. And also, the theatrical production was such a ragtag. It was us. Like, we were doing our costume changes. Like, we would have 30 seconds to become a whole new character. I think in the sequel, some of us played like 6 different characters. It was just like bananas. And so it was sort of weird because like there were all these other people like in our world. So it was definitely like an adjustment. It was like, wait, oh, you're going to help me do my hair and my costume, or I'm just playing one character. Like, in some ways it was like kind of like not as like the adrenaline wasn't there as much, but also kind of a relief to like, oh, I can just focus on this one person. So I do hope for next time that we can like have more time to like do some like rehearsals to sort of like figure out like how does this transition in film. But I think the cast is so talented that we were just, you know, learning and adjusting on the fly. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that sort of translates. But the shitheads love what we do, and it's such a cult. Like, you can't do Shit and Champagne wrong because it's so, you know, big and over the top. And, you know, we don't have to do like Darcy, like the Darcy School of Acting of like say the line, look at the audience, you know, very vaudeville. So, which is a plus. I love the Darcy School of Acting. I've learned and grown so much. But
it's funny, you know, there was a day early on in the filming where I was just screaming my lines, and finally someone came, the assistant director came to me and said, you know, you can whisper and we can still hear you. And I was the idea of whisper. I'm used to having to compete with the Shakers and the soda guns and like the drunk bachelor party. So not having those on the film set made it a very different experience.
I will say it was a little bit like, you know, is this thing on? Like, do they get our humor? Is this funny? Because it's a whole bunch of like straight young people who'd never seen the show working on the crew. So many people, strangers, and I'm, you know, like walking around and they're, I don't know, I'm like, no, this is a character, and you'll see. And I think it was like, you know, the end of the first day when it was the two sound guys that were really cool because they were really quiet, and I don't know, and they were just like, you're funny. You're like, they were like, yeah, we like you. And I was like, okay, it's translating somewhat, but it felt a little bit like two worlds. Like two worlds were meeting, and we were like, just trust us. This is fun. People think this is funny, but without that audience reaction, it's you know, you're just like, I'm just gonna barrel through and do what I do. But because we've done it so many times, I felt like I know what I'm doing here. You know, just you need to just light me and get the shot.
But that's the other thing, though, is with film, you don't get that immediate gratification because, like, the sound guys can't laugh, right? Because we're going to get a clean audio. So it's also like, as actors, just trusting in our instincts and having to trust on each other and the team of it. Like, their job is to make us look good, and they're going to get the best cut. So it's like such a huge other teamwork effort that happens.
It was also really interesting too, because a lot of the crew and the people in the production behind the scenes come from a commercial world, right? So their whole life is about making things look perfect, even better than reality. And we're trying to make something that's spoofing, you know, these super low budget 70s movies. And I would try and tell them, like, I want this to look bad. and they were like, wait, I don't, what do you mean? And so I ended up with something that, you know, I was trying to make look sort of bad, but looks like $1 million movie instead. But I'm not complaining. It looks amazing, but it was really funny. Or even one scene, I got my dance double. I actually cast a woman that was like 4 feet 3 inches to play my double, and to make it look obvious. And they worked so hard to shoot from below to make her look taller. Thinking they were trying to make it match, that somehow those funny things, you know, that is that you wrestle with on trying to create something that has those weird nuances in it. But yeah, Nancy's right. I mean, we really we knew our characters so well that we could just do it. The other thing that was funny too, that I think some of the crew was having issues with, like Brandy and Champagne have a sex scene, a lovemaking scene, and I think there was a lot of confusion around how the lovemaking we were making because they weren't clear if we were supposed to be women or drag queens. I think there was still a little bit of a, you know, because what we're doing, there's so many movies about and shows about drag queens, but we're doing a little more of the, you know, the Charles Busch school, where we're playing female characters.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that lends to nothing but like humor in the translation, like, and people will see when they see the movie, like you play it very well, especially like when that maybe notion of like, is it a drag queen or is it a woman is brought up in like the subtext. It's quite funny.
Wait, am I back? Did I miss anything?
You're back.
You are back.
We were back. I mean,
Okay, right. I heard you talking about something.
we were
I had to leave. I was all,
we were talking about your lovemaking scene. I like that Darcy put it as like, because it really is like, instead of just coming up and being like, because the movie's so raunchy, and I like love that you didn't call it a sex scene. It's a you do make love. You two make love to each other.
I will say though,
tell the story. Did you that someone overheard like two guys talking about it outside? Like, what are they doing? Because they're like, we have our panties on and we're like touching each other, like they didn't get it, and like someone overheard them talking about it. They're like, what's going on? It's like they don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting shoot, and it felt, I think, for me, and maybe I can't speak for others, it was almost like going to an intensive filmmaking school.
Yeah.
We did it in 20 days. Like, it was to get all of that in a 20-day shoot, we just didn't have enough money for any more. And honestly, even though I knew what we were organizing, when I walked on set that first day, it was
Late.
a bigger production than the scope of it. It was overwhelming. There were tents and catering and trucks and people.
Right.
But Darcy, what time did you walk on set that
I was
first
an hour
day?
late, so I didn't get. I was so embarrassed. I was an hour late the first day. I thought we show up and then it's going to be like normal, of like setting all the lights and everything. No, they were set up. It was like I was.
Time is money on that film set.
I will say this too. After, it's been an interesting thing because, like, say for example, a character that Nancy plays, Debbie, she's sort of been like, in the live stage show, she's the narrator. She comes on with the signs. We did this with no set, so that character sets the stage of what's going on, and it's kind of interjecting, almost like the silent Greek chorus. But what that character Debbie did was do this extensive pre-show stuff where she worked the audience and really get it immersive. Like, we had strippers on poles, and Debbie would do these tragic lap dances and have a gross Band-Aid she'd peel off and give it to people. And what we're doing for Frameline is we're doing a pre-show to kind of emulate that, right, at the drive-in. So we're having dancers who are going to work the cars, and Debbie's going to be there, but also Debbie is on the main screen. And what I've realized is that, in moving forward, I feel like this movie has a pre-show, and we've got all this great footage of Debbie. So there is a warm-up, and I feel like that's how we're bringing the live aspect to. And I'd like to make that actually accompany the movie wherever it goes. Is this live warm-up?
Send Debbie.
Limp noodle of a stripper. No offense, Debbie.
Take her on tour to all the openings and premieres. Like, she's in Kansas.
No, 15 minutes of pre-show of her popping the ping pong ball out of her punani.
That's the next show. That's the Temple of Poon.
Nancy, you recruited me to strip at Temple of Poon at Oasis, and I agree. It's like so much. That's one of the things I'm looking the most forward to about the drive-in, is that you do get like that. You just jump right back in the strip club.
Now, I will say what I actually. Now I'm going to tell the truth, Matthew. I had to talk Matthew into doing this role. And
wait
we
a minute.
Know each other.
Oh, spill the beans.
And we were doing.
Wow.
We were doing it right after Golden Girls. I wasn't in Golden Girls at the time. They were just watching Golden Girls live. I know Matthew was tired. Matthew didn't know my original work very well yet.
Oh, I loved and respected you, of course.
As a human being, but not my work. And it took 3 phone calls and a lot of like arm twisting.
Well, first it was the title. What's the show? Shit and Champagne. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has hated the title from the beginning.
It was a bad day. Remember? It was like actually, no, yeah. At first, I didn't know what I was getting into, but of course, I completely respected you, and
But you also
just
haven't been the villain so much. This was you hadn't been I guess Baby Jane is, you were a villain as.
But yeah, and also just talking about, I had, having been a veteran of films, I I was shutting up for as long as I could. No, it was just interesting because I knew going into shooting this, having been there, it's a hurry up and wait of film, and having 25 people practically on top of you, breathing down at you silently. And my goal was always to break up the crew. But, with the medium of film where you get, as you were saying, Andrew, retakes and take 2, take 3, but you always want to give it the best you've got. And there are so many other aspects involved with it. But, what can I say? I'm just honored and so glad I said yes, Darcy. And then three shows later and now the movie. It's like, how lucky can you get? So, and the bonding of the cast, was a real rarity is it was the same cast in 3 iterations of Champagne. So Temple of Poon and Champagne is Disastrous. Is that correct? Yeah. So it was rare to have, it was like, the Saturday Night Live players or SCTV crew, like a theater group. So I think we were well rehearsed and prepared going in to make the movie. But I know it's unsettling. We feed off the audience, and there's nothing like a live audience, and you're just not getting the reaction. But I've seen a little bit of it, and everyone is fantastically funny. So I'm just thrilled.
I think
that's my piece.
I think, Darcy, if I'm correct, like some of our scenes were very early on, right? Like the first week, possibly, right?
They were the first couple of days.
Right.
So to jump in and like that, and like everyone's been saying, right? Without the live audience to feed off of, in this different group of people who you may not have worked with before, and then right, with the weird silence, and especially because I'm in scenes with you, so you can't see, so you have to rely on someone else, and so we're doing our thing like we normally do, and it's like crickets, and you don't know what to do.
And by the way, Darcy, when you're talking about other characters, I did play Big Sally.
That's why I said, yeah, in the sequel.
Yeah, we know who took up the entire stage, and we had to let you know that there were other people that were also in the scene, Matthew Martin. We couldn't get on stage because Matthew Martin wouldn't walk further on stage.
Do you want to tell that one? I was like, we're waiting to go. Nancy, you tell it.
That's a different show. That's not this movie, honey.
Get there for the sequel.
That is another
story. Next year when we do that movie.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Temple of Poon?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
it's all in the same ecosystem. Yeah,
let's just say that we definitely became a family doing these shows, three Champagne shows over time. So we were definitely bonded, and I think that translated well our camaraderie on film as well. We were all so comfortable and knew our parts so well and each other so well. So I think that couldn't help but lend itself to what it is.
It is, so. and I think this film, bringing this film to life from the outside had a lot of hurdles, right? Like especially it looked like something that I was told you absolutely should do a short before you do a feature film. And that's not what happened. We just jumped right into a feature film without ever doing a short. They said it's really, really hard to take stage production and turn it into a film. Oh, you absolutely shouldn't direct and star in the first one, right? There's all these things, but because we had done it so much and they were all still in it, and because of the fan base, there was a level of confidence and courage in making this that I think if it was just had been me by myself writing a script and then trying to get someone to produce it, it wouldn't have had all everyone you see here plus more really was this giant foundation that supported this and all of the audience. And really, like, I forget, maybe it was Nancy who said it or James, but like the audience is another character in this. And I feel like they're going to be that way. I hope that this can be seen in group settings, and because I really feel like it is an event film that, you know, where people can yell at the audience and yell at the screen and participate in a way. And we've set it up. We've left those spaces for people. You know, every time Champagne says her name and everyone gives her a dirty look, she says, "So I've been married a couple of times. It's none of your fucking business." The whole audience would yell, "It's none of your fucking business." So I still tried to pace it in the movie so people could yell along with it. So, and if it goes to streaming, I think you can even do like a how to shit in champagne, and we can make packages for people to have.
Smell-o-vision. People could scratch and sniff.
People can have home packages of like, how do we watch shit in champagne together as a party? What are the
How to Debbie at home?
Yeah. I don't know.
And speaking of go ahead, James.
Well, I just want to say a big, like everyone, one of the things I think is so evident is the artistic family that is created here. And I got picked up for when we started doing it at Oasis, and I was on my way to New York. This was going to be my last production. And then Darcy was like, there's got to be a sequel. I stayed for like an extra, year to 6 months, moved to New York, came back to do Disastrous, and then also came back to do the film. There's just nothing like this group of people. And it's actually a rarity in this industry to find a group of people that you love to create art with and can be on the same level, and especially like the creativity that flows there. And two, what Darcy was able to do with then open that magic from the smaller group of us as the ensemble actors to like the community, the larger community of San Francisco. It was so wonderful to see all these other folks getting the opportunity to be on a film set, and San Francisco has a lot of talent, and Darcy was able to give so many people this opportunity, and I hope it's just the beginning of a new movement and moment of especially like queer cinema and filmmaking and storytelling. Like there is space for what, Darcy and the team are creating here.
I think you nailed it. That's like, I mean, I've been thinking about that ever since, watching Shit and Champagne, like, and not to, talk trash on any other cities, but when you think stage, maybe you think New York. When you think screen, maybe you think LA. And I think this community aspect of this project in specific, like, speaks volumes to just working as performers in San Francisco. Like, we just have, the community and the relationship that you've all developed from working with one another. It doesn't matter if it's on stage or on screen, because you can take it anywhere, kind of thing.
Yeah. And we're going to take it to a drive-in in Concord.
I mean, actually, we've had a couple of other drive-ins reach out to
cool.
And I'm like, is this going to become like the drive-in tour? And
it's perfect for it.
Pre-show, do we just go on tour? And, backing up a little bit too, I just also want to say, like, the course of us all working together, we've done 3 of these. Then James did leave us and wasn't in Bitch Slap, but we all were in another show together. And I had kind of worked this one out a lot prior, but regardless, working with the same group of people who you see here on the screen and really getting used to each other and understanding the comedy. That's a real specific kind of this slapstick vaudeville, Mel Brooks, Zucker Brothers kind of humor. I create a script, but so much comedy comes out when we're all in the rehearsal room, and I mean, it's magic. If we crack ourselves up, it's so fun to rehearse with people where there's really no mistakes. There's just mistakes that become fabulous accidents to scenes. So there's
actually the recipient of those accidents.
That's the accident right there. So I gotta tell you, a long time ago, you're gonna think I'm crazy, like probably 15 years ago, I went and saw a psychic, and they said I'd become famous making film working with a troupe. And now I am actually seeing it take shape organically. So the psychic was right.
Who's your psychic? I need to go see that psychic.
I'll find out who that was. I forget.
Did your psychic mention
New York City? What?
Did your psychic mention anything about money?
Working on it. We're working on it.
One last quick thing I want to bring up, like just outside of the troupe, you were able to get Alaska in the film. How was it working with her?
She's amazing. I mean, I really call her a friend at this point, but we've had her at Oasis a number of times. She's guest starred in the Golden Girls with us, and it was really fun to get to work with her. And a total pro showed up, knew her shit. I dropped this line on her that took so much memorizing, like literally 1 minute before the take, and she got it. Now LeMay did have to give up one of her characters to Alaska. So
oh, interesting.
But total pro.
But better for it to go to her to co-sign on that. Like a lot of us have, like, I'm not going to name any names, but I've definitely worked with some of those queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, and they're not all. I was scared. I didn't really know Alaska going into it, and just what a sweetheart and such a class act, and just like wonderful to work with and slap around.
Yeah, no hard feelings, really.
More than anything too, like what I hate is, to really tighten this movie up, a lot of things did get left on the cutting room floor, and a lot of fabulous people didn't make it in the know. And I'm reminded that Tracy Ullman got completely cut out of Death Becomes Her. So it does.
Oh, snap. Didn't know that.
But at some point, I want to make a director's cut.
Oh,
and
you have to.
put all the juicy stuff back in. But I am real proud. I have a problem of everyone always often says my stuff's too long, and we got this into a nice, tight 90-minute movie, which was a big challenge for me.
Did you have to speed up everyone's audio?
Yes, 6-part miniseries. Yes, everyone talks twice as fast.
Oh my God!
But yes,
cool.
For the next one, I am busy adapting the next one for the screen. So there's a lot in that one, from like running from boulders and falling in giant vats of perfume to
Lady Prison
fights.
Lady Prison.
Remember? That's how.
I'm also really happy, just from the very first time we did it in New York until even doing this film now, everyone said you can't call it shit and champagne. You can't call it shit and champagne, and because of the title, and you know what, it keeps being okay. And at this point, we can't change the title because we got the shitheads. They wouldn't make any days.
To reprint all the merch.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly cannot wait for this drive-in. I can't wait for all the shitheads to come out. And I think this has been really great. I think we've covered kind of the history of shit and champagne for folks who might not be familiar with it. And I'm so excited to invite everybody out Thursday, the 17th, at the West Wind Solano Drive-In. All that info, of course, is on the Frameline website. Please grab your ticket for a car, come see the fabulousness. And it was so great to catch up with all of you.
Yay. Thank you, Andrew, for having us.
Andrew.
Come see the movie.
And Frameline.